Shaun Bruce, welcome to Gibbo Goes One, driven by MG. Mate, where are you right now in the world? I know you're from Melbourne, but I feel like you might be up north.
Yeah, Horsham, mate. Not quite Melbourne, not quite the big smoke, but yeah, currently in Cairns, where my girlfriend's from, and she's working up here right now. So spending some time up here in the far north.
Have you been up there the whole time this isolation stuff's kind of been hit? So you've kind of been stranded up there since?
Basically, yeah. So once our season got done there in the finals, yeah, got straight up here and the borders closed, I think the day I got in here. So have been here since. And yeah, I plan to get back home to Victoria in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I've been here pretty much the last couple of months.
I know you're a bit of a gym junkie, haven't spent a little bit of time with you. How have you found the isolation stuff? Have you been able to, go and shoot outside or find somewhere to go and work out? I know it's lightened up a little bit the last couple of weeks, but obviously for 5 or 6 weeks you haven't been able to do too much.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that for sure. I've only had the outdoor court. Apart from this week, yesterday I got in and got back inside up here in Cairns. They opened up to whatever it is, 20 people, but thankfully I've had a small little gym I've had access to, so being able to work out and stuff like that. So staying in shape, but yeah, the jump shot needs some work now, so it'd be good to get back in there and get some shots up.
You obviously grew up in Horsham. For anyone that does know, a little country town in Vic. A lot of people, which we'll get to later. I've got some questions coming from some fellow Horsham athletes, but grew up in Horsham. How was that as a young kid, kind of growing up in the country?
Yeah, it was awesome. Obviously, the only thing I knew, but yeah, no regrets at all. I loved it there. Obviously, not much else to do than play sport, so a lot of our life revolved around playing a bunch of different sports, whether it was basketball or footy, yeah, cricket even, just whatever you could do to fill in time. So that was always fun. And then on the competitive side of things, obviously it's a smaller town, so going and playing rep tournaments and stuff and going up against some bigger associations was always a good time, and always a bit of that underdog feeling around that. So that was always fun.
Some of your other sports you just mentioned, you love playing footy. For me, footy was a massive one. AFL footy was big growing up in Tassie. Is that something you loved kind of playing as a young kid? I know you've definitely got that aggression and that aggressive side on the court. Is that something you think may have come from football or from backyard battles?
Yeah, probably a bit of both of that. Probably being the youngest brother and getting beat up a bit throughout my junior life. But yeah, I love playing footy. If it probably wasn't for my older brother doing what he was doing and seeing what he could do with basketball and wanting to follow his footsteps, I probably would have tried to stick to footy. Being from Horsham, it's probably more common to play footy and go through that ranks, and I loved it as well. But yeah, seeing what Az did and going to the AIS and college and stuff, it probably veered me towards basketball. And obviously, yeah, have no regrets with that either. Have a lot of fun playing basketball, but as a youngster, I loved footy just as much.
As was my next on my list. So for anyone that doesn't know, obviously your brother Aaron played in the NBL. He went to the AIS, NBL. We grew up playing junior Australian teams together. Went to college at Baylor. Should have entered the draft after his first year and could have potentially been an NBA player. So I was very close to that. Is he someone, obviously you would have had battles in the backyard, but it sounds like he's also someone that got you into playing basketball in the first place.
Yeah, we didn't have too many battles. Like, Az is 6 or 7 years older than me, so they weren't really battles. He kind of just included me when he wanted someone to rebound or something like that. But yeah, definitely his influence on my basketball career has been huge. And yeah, like you mentioned, being from a small town, he kind of paved the way for a few of us, I think, to open our eyes up to what you could do with the game and where you could get to if you put in some work. So, yeah, for him to do what he did, yeah, it was a big thing for a lot of us. I'm sure your housemate, Creaky, would probably mention that too. He kind of just opened our eyes up to what you could do with the game.
I'm sure, no doubt, obviously being a big brother. I remember catching up with him after a Sydney game. Probably have had times you've hit him up and asked him for questions and I guess advice, being in and out of the league for so long, of what to do or, you know, how to stay and how to make your game better.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably been good at keeping his distance as well and kind of letting me find my feet. And we had different paths to the NBL. Obviously, you mentioned he went to the AIS and to college, and I went a different way and come up through the Siebel and whatnot. So he kind of come in with a different pedigree and had a different role right away than what I did. So, yeah, he's definitely shared a lot of stuff he's learned along the way, and still he's checking in on my games. And now I'm playing in Sydney where he's living as well. He's been able to get to a few, and yeah, that's been cool and obviously pretty special to have that in my backyard.
I was going to get to it later after we talk about your NBL career and obviously your basketball career to date and what you've done. But do you feel like because of kind of what he's done and playing for the Australian teams and obviously playing NBL for a bunch of years in college, you feel like you've kind of been living in his shadow or had to kind of fight your way out of, you know, being as his younger brother and trying to, I guess, be your own kind of player?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I first felt that it was like when I made the ITC for Vic Country back in the day, and like any drill I did, like coaches would mention like, oh, your brother would do that. He was better at that than you or whatever. He's a harder worker than you. And for any of that, it was always just motivation to go a bit harder, and knowing that he was obviously a hard worker and we probably played pretty similar in a lot of ways with chip on our shoulder being from a smaller town and whatnot. But I guess being in that shadow and having his experiences to compare myself against and be judged against, I guess, has only motivated me to keep up what I'm doing and try to be better every day as well.
Where did you start your basketball? Like obviously back home in Horsham, playing locally is where you kind of started playing basketball?
Yeah, so just for our junior association, the Horsham Hornets. Yeah, just as soon as I could with Az and my other brother Cam, they were always playing in front of me. So as soon as mum and dad would let me throw on a singlet, I was always trying to sneak on whenever I could, I reckon around ages of 4 or 5. But around that age, I started pretty young and yeah, just started there in Horsham.
And then you mentioned that the ITC, I don't know if it's called that in every state. I know it was in Tassie as well. So you obviously did that stuff and junior stuff. What led you to, or what were the steps you took to get from there to the Siebel program?
Yeah, so yeah, I guess made state teams and stuff like that, probably from under 14s through to under 18s for Vic Country at the time. And at the under 18 level, playing against Vic Metro, one of your old coaches, Guy Malloy, was the head coach of that program, and he'd just taken the job at Ballarat. I think it was after your guys' time with the Dragons. So he'd seen me play at that tournament and knew I was down the road in Horsham from Ballarat, a couple of hours away. So he kind of recruited me down there to be a part of what he was doing there at the Siebel level. And initially it was just to go there and play in their youth league program and go to college as well, but that didn't happen. And yeah, Guy was setting something up for us there to kind of be there for a couple of years in the Siebel, and he kind of spoke to me about hanging around there and working with him and what he could do with me. So that ended up turning into a really good situation for me.
Yeah, having worked with Guy in the Dragons, loved that 1 year I had with him. Obviously, someone's been around NBL programs before. That must have been super helpful, I guess, for your game, because I know how good he was with me. I guess individually improving stuff, especially offensively, and how he sees the game. That must have been good for you to, I guess, be able to measure where you're at now and where you might need to go to be an NBL player.
Yeah, it was. Us guys in Horsham, we have a really good coach we had growing up, Owen Ewan. He's kind of famous, definitely in the Victorian basketball circles. And he definitely helped a lot of us guys with our fundamentals and getting to a point where we're ready to go into senior basketball. And then I think the combination of what he did for me and obviously what Guy did for me there for a couple of years was probably just the icing on top with getting ready to be a professional. And he'd come straight from your program with the Dragons, so he knew exactly kind of how we needed to be working, and that was an eye-opener for me, and he really showed me the way in terms of that and got me ready to be a development player and so on from there.
So from Ballarat, that's where the development spot opened up with the Taipans?
Yeah, so it just turned out Guy was really close with Fernie at the time, and Fernie was down visiting Guy, doing some coaching stuff in Victoria, I think, and just come out to a couple of our Seabull games one weekend, and I guess saw what he liked, and had some conversations with Guy and whatnot. I'd spent a couple of stints just going down and training with the Tigers at the time in Melbourne, and had a little taste of it. But yeah, the first opportunity to be a part of it full time come with Cairns from there, so that was cool.
How was it going from being a Seabull guy to jumping in and then training for your first day, or rocking up your first day, and then going against, sure, there was Alex Loughton, I think Matty Burson might have been there then, Trigger, some big guys, tough guys that obviously a lot older, and it's a fairly big jump going from Seabull to NBL. How was that kind of transition from I guess that to that?
Yeah, it was tough. It was an eye-opener. Jamar Wilson was up in Cairns at the time, and he was a handful. Obviously, you played with him as well, and I remember that first day I flew in. We trained in the afternoon, and I think Big Nate was there. He was home for a stint in his EuroLeague days or whatever, and training with those guys. I remember leaving first practice, not really knowing whether I'm ready for this, but had to develop and learn pretty quick, and build a good relationship with Jamar, and he definitely helped me along the way. And but like you said, it's a huge jump, and I don't think guys at Seabull level that play that maybe their whole life and don't get a taste of some NBL, they really realise how big a jump it is at some point. But that first day was an eye-opener, definitely.
Is there one thing or a couple of things you thought going into that first day or to that first week or even that first year being as a DP was something like, I want to focus on, or, this is what I'm going to bring to the team, or, I'm probably not going to play or whatever, but at practice, this is what I'm going to try and do to make them better or make myself more valuable to the team? Was there anything you kind of wanted to hold your hat on or, kind of strive for, or a goal you might have set?
Yeah. So on that, that was, I guess, what was lucky about having the experience with Guy and him knowing that situation pretty well. He kind of just challenged me to be the first one in there every day and last to leave, and really just show the coaching staff that, I want to be there, and this is something I want to do on a full-time level and earn a roster spot. So he always said just that extra work you put in is always valuable. He kind of chats we have to this day, he's always still mentioning that. So it was just that, getting in, doing a lot of extra work, and using those practices like a game day. Like, you can't have any days off when you're a development player. Like, that practice time's just huge. And that stuck with me that first year in. And unfortunately for the team, we had a lot of injuries that year. So as a development player, you kind of need that to catch a break. And I caught that break, I guess, a little bit, and got to travel a lot with the team, and got a little bit more opportunity from there.
I had Jamar Wilson down. He's one of my favourite teammates I've played with. He goes left literally every time on the court, but you still can't stop him. Just a great guy to be around, super inclusive of everyone, being an import, and just a great all-round guy. You learn a lot from him that first season, on and off the court, about how to be a pro and how to play the game and how to read the game as another point guard. Yeah,
I think so. Obviously, we're really different. He can score the hell out of the ball, and that's probably his first priority. But more than anything, just seeing how he is as a teammate, and how, like you mentioned, how inclusive he is with, if we're competing in drills, he was competing as hard as he could to win, but he was at the same time encouraging everyone, just being a great teammate. So I learned a lot from that. And I think that's kind of what's helped me build the career I've had, is try to kind of balance those two things of being super competitive, but being a great teammate as well.
I have a tip that he may have got injured, I think, in a game in Sydney, maybe, and you may have got a start. did you get a start that first season as a DP, or do I have some fake news coming through?
Nah, that's right. It wasn't as a DP. It was my first year as a roster player. So
Okay.
not sure if he went down or Glidden went down, and Jamar was coming off the bench. So Fernie wanted to keep it that way. So I went from kind of not playing to starting, and then got my first start and had Jamar coming off the bench. It was pretty weird, but that was kind of my first start. And
how was that being your first start?
I don't think it went too well for us from memory, but I mean, as somebody that wasn't playing a whole lot, to be thrown in there and starting, it was a cool experience, obviously, to get a bit more of an opportunity, but probably an eye-opener too, to the level that the game was at that stage of my career.
You mentioned Glizzo, Cameron Glidden. Have you had a funnier teammate? I'm sure you've had plenty of funny teammates, but someone that's humour. I always ask my guests, I always put up on Instagram the day before about, let's ask my guest a question, and he always puts really inappropriate stuff up. But I've got a lot of time for Cam, and he's, I know you got to play with him and spent a lot of time with him, really good mates. Have you found funnier teammates? Newley's probably one you probably put in that basket as well, but, just funny teammates that are great to be around day in, day out at practice and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, great mates. Had a lot of good teammates, but man, nothing matches Glidden's sense of humour, and I guess, like you said, the inappropriateness of it's probably not questions we can bring up on this podcast, and I can just picture what he's throwing out there. But his sense of humour is definitely unique. It's hilarious.
After Cairns, you signed with Brisbane, where we were. In between each kind of NBL season, you always go and play, whether it's Seabull, whether it's QBL. I talked to Will Magnay about it. Who else I talked to? I talked to someone else about how Nathan Sobey did that in Adelaide one year and played back in his hometown in Warrnambool and came back, and because he dominated that league, his next NBL season was massive. Do you find that helps you going back and being able to play a lot of minutes, run teams as a point guard, probably being the captain? And do you find that's a massive help for your next seasons with the NBL?
Yeah, I think so. Probably the best one I had was there in Brisbane, going out to Mackay, and I'd left Brisbane where in the off season they had workouts planned for all the guys that were staying around, and because I was missing those, they kind of challenged me to go be the best player I could out there, and I kind of set myself a goal of being the MVP and kind of went out and achieved that 1 year and put up some numbers and whatnot. But definitely using that time, especially for guys like us playing roles off the bench, I think is super valuable, just to go play and have the shackles off for a couple of months and go try some things you maybe don't get to try at the NBL level, or because of your role, it's just not you to be doing that. But I've done that every off season, this one being the first where I haven't really played. So to other young guys or guys with roles off the bench and whatnot, I think it's a great idea to be doing. It just keeps you in shape, but it gives you a chance to really prove yourself as well.
I'm going to backtrack because I forgot to bring this up. When you're back in Cairns, and obviously your brother was still playing in the NBL, your first minutes were against him, were they not?
Yeah, down in Sydney. So as a DP, first game I checked into, it was actually we won as a Cairns team on the road, and I checked in late in the game when the game was done, and I think Sydney had cleared their bench as well, so Az wasn't even in there. But my family was there, and they were wearing t-shirts, kind of half orange, half purple. So looking back, that was a pretty cool time, and something we'll probably look back at for a while and remember.
So back to how did you find your time in Brisbane? So so you went from Cairns, obviously DP, contracted player. We obviously really wanted you to come to Brisbane with the new team coming back in, the rebuild. It must have felt good to be wanted, I guess, from a club to start an organisation. I talked to Daniel Kickett about it. Just being, I guess those foundation guys to kind of set a platform for a brand new team moving forward.
Yeah, the time there, I think obviously as a group, we didn't have a whole lot of success there in terms of wins and losses, but yeah, looking back at it, it was just a unique environment. Obviously, you're doing it again with Phoenix and starting fresh again. But yeah, I just remember the buzz around the city for that first game out at Boondall when we relaunched and played the Wildcats, I think, and getting that win, you could just feel that, like, yeah, the Brisbane community really wanted a team, and they were so excited to have us back. And I still think that first year, if we didn't kind of have the injuries we had, it would have been a lot different, and who knows what it would look like now. Maybe that whole roster looks a lot different, but that stuff happens. And yeah, but definitely got some great experiences, and moving teams definitely helped me, I think, just mature and be challenged in different ways and stuff like that. So yeah, probably didn't turn out the way we all expected going there and doing what we did, but a lot to learn from and a lot of cool experiences to reflect on as well.
Obviously, your pathway, I guess, in the NBL wasn't the easiest, and then even staying in the NBL hasn't been the easiest. So from Brisbane, Bullets didn't want you back. It's happened to a bunch of it happens, I guess, in sport, and I'm kind of out of the league there for a while, and I guess it must have been tough knowing that you're good enough but not having a spot. What was it like, I guess, in that situation, and then finding the motivation to make sure you stay ready for then the potential call up to go to Adelaide?
Yeah, that kind of snuck up on me a little bit in a sense, because I was over playing in New Zealand and really enjoying myself over there playing with Wellington, and we had a really good team, and we're pretty successful. Like, we lost in the championship in the end, but I was so focused on that season that it kind of only hit me on the flight home to Australia that, like, I'm flying back to nothing, where usually I'm coming back from the off season to rejoin a team or whatever. So in terms of staying motivated, I was pretty lucky. I returned here to Cairns and contacted Mike Kelly right away, just to get in touch with him, just to see if I could come and practice to stay in shape, because obviously didn't know what I was doing. So really thankful for him. He brought me in and just let me be around his group and practice with them and stay in touch, and just staying in routine during that time was huge for me. And I guess the message from my agent and what I felt was going to be the case, it was, as soon as an injury or something happens, you see it every year. There's somebody needs to be replaced or whatnot. So I was always thoughtful that something like that would come up, and always looking for that. But I guess it didn't happen until January, and I got stuck kind of up here in Cairns practicing and trying to stay in shape. So I was naive at the start, I guess, thinking that an opportunity would come up sooner. But yeah, I just had to wait a little bit longer. And in the end, I got to, join the 36ers there for, I think, 6 games, maybe 7, and took a lot out of that experience playing with Joey, and just seeing how he goes about things was an eye-opener for me. And like, you've played with him, a lot of guys have played with him, like, the way he sees the game's just so much different to maybe some other coaches I'd had in the past. So that was really cool to see, and was thankful for that opportunity as well. And that obviously led to me being back with the Kings and whatnot.
Yeah, I've seen and know of a lot of players that have been, I guess, not been picked up, and then they've just fallen away when they could have played another 4 or 5 years in the league. So that must have been tough, just sitting around waiting, like hoping, and like you said, someone always gets injured, but probably 80% of people just fall off and kind of move on to work or other jobs. So that must have been tough. And then let's talk about the confidence that Joey gives his players. That must have been, first of all, a tough position just to rock in, have 6-8 games left in the season, to learn new teammates, to try and fit in, but then to have Joey, I'm sure, give you confidence and all the belief in the world to go out there and do a job for him is something that I think he's been really good at his whole coaching career. For
sure. Like, Joey, he doesn't really care what you do as long as you're playing hard and you're holding up your end down on the defensive end and whatnot. And I guess playing the game the right way down the other end, not playing it selfish. So I think we really fit one another, and my personality of trying to get after it for him defensively, I think, gave him confidence to play me. So, yeah, that was great. I guess going back to sticking with it, yeah, I guess similar to like what I said, I was naive at the time, thinking that the opportunity was going to come up sooner. So that probably kept me going more than anything. And probably the support I had from my family just to be able to do that and to be able to train up here in Cairns and still concentrate on that goal of getting back in the league and not rushing into another job anywhere else was pretty key for me. And I was pretty lucky with my situation, I think, as well.
And you've been studying. Have you studied at all?
Yeah, so back I guess in my Siebel days, I started a degree as a sports science, a bachelor of sports science, and then once I moved from there, the Taipans had a partnership with CTU, the uni up here, which was an online institution. So knocked that out while I've been playing, which will be good to use one day, hopefully not too soon, but got that under my belt as well.
Was there any temptation? I mean, I'm sure there were doubts. You were probably multiple times, like, could have been like, you know what, this is like, can I catch a break? Like, should I look at pursuing, you know, a career outside of actually playing basketball? Did that pop up?
It didn't really, to be honest. Like, I had a lot of people reaching out to me thinking that way as well, and they kind of felt like they were saying I probably should be going that way, but it was actually the idea of the Phoenix coming in the year after that was something that I saw, like, there's more jobs coming around. Like, yeah. I've just got to stick this out. At the time, I signed pretty early to go to Rockhampton and play there in the QBL. So I knew that was coming around in April if nothing was to come up in the NBL. And I'd do my best to, if it wasn't to pick up a job with the Phoenix, like that's how I was thinking at the time, that there'd be more jobs around the league. And I was confident that I was at the level to play in the league and contribute and whatnot, but I just had to get back there. So, that definitely gave me hope. And obviously with the new Tassie team coming in now, hopefully that's just going to be a positive for guys that are around the league in a similar spot that I was or whatnot. There's so many of them out there that are still kind of had a taste of the league or definitely deserve a shot at it. So I think that's cool thing for the NBL right now with it growing.
Now we got to spend a little bit before we get on to the Kings. We got to spend a little bit of time up in Rocky. It must be cool, first of all, to be like one of the most sought after players in the QBL. Obviously, you know Trigger from Cairns, and he's like the mayor of Rockhampton now. He's running that whole show, so he got us both up there. That was a lot of fun. We played a lot of Fortnite together, and I know you obviously mates with Drimic and Jack McVeigh, who Drim now his streams. I watch that. When was that? Like 2 weeks ago or last week? You like that side of things of not only just, I guess, finding mates that you play with, but, you know, being able to jump online and talk some shit and play some Fortnite and game and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's my escape for sure. When I'm at home, I'm not a big Netflix watcher or whatever. Like, it's my thing at home. I jump online and it's a guilty pleasure to play some Fortnite with the boys. So I actually blame Rubes, our old teammate in Brisbane, for it. I was rooming with him at the time and he'd bring his PlayStation on the road and just play it for hours. So he initially got me onto it. He just, everyone knows how good he is at the game, but he'd play it for hours. So I knew it must be all right if he was doing it. So he got me into it, and now it's just led to what it is now of everyone's on it and playing. But it's definitely just a social outlet to talk some smack with the boys. I'm not very good at it. If you jumped on the stream with Drimic last week, I was on the deck a lot. I was dead.
It was actually good fun to watch. I enjoy watching that stuff instead of burning my eyes out playing, but it's actually good just watching, you know, and it's cool. I think what Dreaming's doing is getting a whole bunch of different players from different teams to jump on. And Mitch, Creaky and myself are actually going to do that. We're doing some stuff with Starlight to raise money for 6 kids. So the next 4 Wednesdays in a row from, I think, 5 to 7, we're going to get on there and Twitch some streams. So if you get bored, mate, feel free to jump on.
I'll be on there, man. I'll check it out.
Jump online. Now let's get to Sydney. Obviously, you know, I think everyone knows you did well enough in Adelaide to certainly show that you certainly belong in the league. How did the whole Sydney thing come about? Who got in contact with you? Was it through the agents? Will Weaver? How did that all kind of pan out to get you in Sydney?
Yeah, it was come out of the blue for sure. I'd obviously did okay in Adelaide, and kind of signs there were that they were going to make me an offer, but it didn't happen right away. So I was at a point where I was kind of reaching out to any coach I knew from any team, kind of any GM I knew. I had my agent doing the same thing. I was just trying to get it in anywhere. And I actually didn't know Will, and I didn't know our GM, Chris Bonga. So it was the only team I didn't really touch base with personally. So maybe it was the messages I was flying around for my own kind of recruitment that weren't very good or something. But they got in touch with my agent. Obviously, Kyle was there in the backup role kind of the year before, and he decided to leave and play with the Phoenix. So it opened up, I guess, that position for me. And yeah, through my agent, they got in touch with Will and Chris and kind of went from there. But for me, leading into last year, I never really pictured myself being a King at all. It was kind of, I spoke to a few different teams, and some teams were showing interest. I'd spent a little bit of time up here in Cairns, so there was that connection. There was that little time I had in Adelaide as well, and some pieces here and there. But for how it turned out, obviously couldn't ask for anything more with meeting Will and seeing what he's about as a coach. And then the group that I played with, it was just, it was awesome. I couldn't ask for anything better.
What do you put, like, obviously you had a super consistent year. I mean, you're up for, I think, 6th man of the year and most improved, which is for someone that was like bumping in and out of the league to now be nominated for, 2 of the major awards or 2 of the big awards in the NBL. That must have been awesome. But how do you think you got to that point, and your role, I guess, within the team? Was that just, confidence from Will? Was that, the guys you were playing with, or was that just because you guys put such a great roster together that it was just easy to play your role? And because it wasn't like you were just out there passing the ball around. You're out there draining threes and pull-ups and, playing a really important role for your team.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of a lot of that stuff. I feel like Will gave me a lot of confidence just to be myself, and obviously playing alongside Bogues, Newells, all those veteran guys as well. They definitely backed the same message as Will, and they gave me a lot of confidence as well. And I guess kind of the message I got from the time I was outside the league was that coaches kind of doubted my own confidence in myself scoring the ball at times as well. Like, I put a lot of emphasis on, running a team and stuff like that, where at times I think I was looking like I wasn't confident in my own ability to shoot the ball. So throughout that time, I kind of put it in my brain, I put it in my head, like, that if I get another opportunity, that's not how I'm going to go out. I need to come back and let it fly, or I'm not going to die wondering type of thing. But obviously had to do that within our system at the Kings, and had to balance the two a little bit. So I guess the 12 months I had before last was a part of it. But definitely the confidence Will and my teammates gave me was a huge factor as well.
Obviously, Bogues has been an unbelievable player for Australia, or representing Australia in the NBA and whatnot. And your brother, as obviously played with him juniors and kind of growing up at the AIS, was that cool to kind of, I know being around Bogues for such a small amount of time, what impact he has on people and on teams, but knowing your brother played with Bogues and then you obviously a long time after, that must have been cool to play alongside him and have him, I guess, in your corner.
Yeah, it was super cool. I hadn't really rubbed shoulders with Bogues since the day Aaron went to the AIS. We dropped him off there as a family, and they got there at the same time. So I kind of met Bogues through that, and then him and Aaron were obviously good mates throughout the institute and stuff like that. So I went and watched them play in the AIS and things like that. But to then follow his career from that point on and see what he did, like, I've always been a big fan. So the first week or so in Kings practice, it was just surreal to be now playing alongside him and be his teammate. Like, that was cool. I was definitely starstruck there for a few weeks just being around him. But yeah, what everyone knows, like, Bogues as a teammate was awesome. Like, he doesn't for everything he's done, he's just another guy in the locker room that loves to joke and have fun and share his knowledge and experience. Like that whole experience playing with him and being his teammate will be something I'll cherish for a long time.
Another one of your teammates who you played with in Brisbane was Kicks. Surely he owes you a whole bunch of money for all the assists you drop him throughout that season. Obviously, you guys played together before, but shared a lot of court time, and it just felt like whenever he was open, you were passing the ball. It must be pretty cool to know that you're going to throw some of the ball. The shot's probably going to go in. But just playing with him and on the court, it just felt like you guys had a different connection than, I guess, some of the other players.
We did for sure, and it probably come from, definitely that little time we had in Brisbane, even though during that time we probably didn't play alongside each other a lot. Like he was starting with yourself and you guys kind of probably had that connection while we were in Brisbane, but to see that and then get to play with him, like we call him the weapon. It's a bit of an inside joke. Like he's just a weapon out there. You got to find him. Like as a guard, you're pretty stupid if you're not. Like if he can get a clean look at it, it's going in. So you say that he should be buying me beers, but on the same hand, I don't think I had the season I had without him being there and being able to find him. Like, he's awesome to play with, and a good teammate off the court as well. So, yeah.
Obviously, you guys had a great season. Massive change from top to bottom. Your owner Paul seemed like he was a great guy for you as a team, and I know he let you borrow his car and stuff. And just that stuff, I think, makes teams roll so much better than, if that stuff's not happening. He must have been pretty cool to be around.
It was cool, yeah. Actually, he didn't borrow it. He just gave it to me. He got a bit fired up. I don't know if you know the story. I took a charge in Brisbane, and I don't know. He thought it was cool, so he yelled out at the time, "You get my Porsche next week." So I wasn't going to say no, but I actually gave it back to him. Those small cars wasn't good for my back, so it felt weird. I didn't hang on to it too long, but I definitely, if I reflected back on 12 months ago, I wasn't expecting to be driving a Porsche around Sydney for a week.
Did you take that for a spin down to Bondi, or you cut any laps anywhere? In Melbourne, we have Chapel Street, so we cut some chap laps. But is there anywhere in Sydney, down by the beach, or somewhere you took it for a spin?
It's funny. I took it straight there. Picked up my mate Lloydie. He lives over that way, and we did it big there for a day or so, and took some pictures in it and whatnot, and sent him some pictures of us just hanging out in it, and gave him some shit about it. So that was a bit of fun.
I was going to bring up Jakey. I don't think you're a Swans fan, but obviously Jake Lloyd, one of your good mates, plays for the Swans. He's not from. Is he from where you're from or not?
Yeah, he's a Horsham boy.
He's a Horsham boy as well. So that's a question I'll bring up later. The best sports person to come out of Horsham, but it must be cool to have one of your good mates in Sydney now, where you play to be able to hang out. And I don't know if you got to any of their Swans games, but I'm sure he came out to a bunch of Kings games and supported the team. And it must be cool to have that kind of connection now, close again with a good mate.
Yeah, he's one of my best mates, so it's been cool following his career, and he's doing really well for himself. But we've always got in touch when I've played in Sydney for other teams. So now to be there, he's coming to all our games and sitting courtside and whatnot. So he's enjoying that. And if it wasn't for this COVID stuff, I'd be there at Swans games as well right now. But it's been cool to have him around and see him doing really well. It's cool.
I've seen the Kings had like a celebrity game, and I'm pretty sure he had a little run around. Did you give him any grief about that or not?
The only grief I gave him was I think he blocked one of the girls' shots. That was that was rough. He was savage, but he actually did all right for himself. He actually played and made state teams as a junior, so he's got a bit of a background playing basketball. But he chose, I think, the right path now, being on all Australian lists and whatnot in the footy. He's doing well.
I reckon he made a great choice. I've got a bunch of questions to fire at you. Like I said before, I put up on my Instagram questions and people fire them in. So I'll reel them off.
Interesting.
Some are good. Some have been put in the bin due to obvious reasons, and some you'll know who they come from. But a kid asked, what's your favourite shooter playing?
Oh, I've loved the Kobe range. I think the Kobe 10 was my favorite to play in. But yeah, all the new old models are coming back out now, so I've been loving picking them up. Any of the Kobe stuff?
Any tips for kids starting rep and then changing positions? So, you know, if a young kid grows a lot and then changes from position, or maybe they were tall and now they're a point guard, or so tips for kind of starting rep and if they change
Yeah,
positions.
I guess just work on all aspects of your game. The game of basketball is kind of positionless now, where big guys have got to have guard skills and guards have got to be able to do some stuff the big guys do. So yeah, work on a range of stuff, and you shouldn't have any trouble with your changing positions and whatnot if you're skillful in a lot of areas.
Daniel Kickett asks, who's the biggest goose to come from Horsham, you or Creaky?
You should answer that one, man. You know us both, but obviously Creaky.
What was it like growing up with Creaky?
It was cool. Yeah, being from a small town, you'd probably expect us to, I guess, know more about each other, but we played on teams and stuff with one another. But he kind of there's 2 high schools down there in Horsham, and he went to a different school and had a different kind of group of friends. So growing up, it wasn't like we were best mates and super close, but yeah, we got to play with one another, and I think it was under 18s, went and played in the junior classics together and did pretty well for Horsham. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, he had a different career to me. He went to the AIS and kind of had the world at his feet, did really well. Had some international tournaments and stuff. Like he was super talented, and yeah, you've seen what his career's done since. Like he's doing some major stuff. So yeah, great to see, and obviously he represents Horsham in a really good way, so it's cool to see.
How do you maintain confidence after a missed shot? Now, obviously this season is probably different than past, but a young kid asks, how do you maintain confidence after a missed shot?
Yeah, I guess you go through phases where that stuff comes and goes, but I know this year I felt from the coaches and guys around me, they really expected me to just shoot the next one, and that gave me a lot of confidence in myself. And any doubts I guess I had about myself, it was yeah, the confidence came from my teammates, and they just wanted me to keep shooting the ball when I'm open, and I got a lot of confidence from that.
What was it like playing the grand final with no fans?
Yeah, it was super strange. Felt like a close scrimmage, really. That's what it was. Obviously, we're playing for all the marbles, but it felt like a pre-season scrimmage, like we're at practice or something. It was super strange.
Newell's is a roommate. Now, rumor has it that he wouldn't let you use the toilet in your own room. I know Newell's is very energetic and he's a talker and awesome teammate. But yeah, what was he like as a roommate?
Yeah, yeah, like you said, man, it was. You definitely catch up on a lot of stuff when you're rooming with Newell's. He loves a chat, so yeah, plenty of good conversation. Kev went down with an injury last year, his usual roommate, and I jumped in, and yeah, we had some good times. Newell's filled me in on, I think, all his career, and Charles and Betty's as well. Like he kept me up to date with everything, that's for sure. He loves a chat, but yeah, he had a funny thing about using the toilet in the room, being so close to where we slept, so had to run down to the lobby whenever we wanted to do that.
This is a very random question. It's like you can either never wear shoes ever again or never take your shoes off. Which are you choosing? So you can wear them but never take them off. So you're always wearing shoes, or you can never wear shoes ever again.
Yeah, I'd be no shoes, I think.
No shoes?
Couldn't imagine sleeping with shoes on, but yeah, it'd obviously take away some things. I wouldn't want to be walking or doing hikes and stuff without any shoes, so I probably wouldn't ever do that stuff again. But yeah, you got to let the dogs breathe every now and again, so I'd take that.
I don't know how much you've had to do with Dan Ewing. I met him when I was on the Gold Coast, obviously star of Home and Away. or in the past. He threw out a silly question, but I want to talk to you a little bit about him. Obviously, he's a massive fan of the NBL and obviously the Kings. Have you had much to do with him? And it's always good fun seeing him courtside talking a bunch of rubbish, but his kind of impact has been, I guess, an ambassador of the league has been pretty good for our sport.
Yeah, I guess getting to know him a bit more this year. He's at most of the Kings games he can get to, but yeah, you always see him down there pumping up the crowd and whatnot. You'd think he was playing down there sometimes. He loves it. So yeah, met him a couple of times, but it's been pretty brief. But yeah, he obviously loves the Kings and loves the NBL. So we need more guys like that.
For sure. My last question: who is the best athlete to come from Horsham? Now, there's obviously yourself, Creek, your brother Az, Jakey Lloyd from the Swans. Are there? I'm sure there's others.
Yeah, there's one that goes undercover that I think is like run away the best out of anyone. Like I'm not even close to being up there, but Adam Goods is from Horsham.
Is he?
Yeah, dual Brownlow medalist, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, he's done all right. He's from like a small little town just outside of Horsham, but we definitely claim him. He went to Ballarat and played in their TAC Cup and whatnot, but yeah, I'd say Goodsy takes a cake for athletes out of Horsham.
Yeah, look, I didn't know he was part of that group, so I reckon I think Creaky may have asked that question actually, hoping he was going to be himself, but I didn't realise there was going to be a dual Brownlow medalist popping his head up.
I bet. He may not even know he's from there. Who knows? But yeah,
so Jake and Goodsy, are they? I mean, obviously both playing for the Swans. Obviously a fair age gap too, but they would. I'm sure they would have some kind of connection and through the Swans and whatnot, and being both from Horsham.
Yeah. So Jake's first 2 years there, I think, were Goodsy's last. So yeah, they built a connection there, and I think Goodsy kind of mentored him as a young fella when he first got to Sydney and took him under his wing. So yeah, that's been cool that Jake got to experience that and have someone like Goodsy around. I think that's pretty special.
Yeah, nice. Well, man, that's all I had for you. Appreciate you joining me out there in Cairns. I hope that once these borders open up, you can get back to, I'm assuming you're going to go back home and chill back in Melbourne for a while.
Yeah, I'll get back to Horsham soon. So thanks for having me on, man. I've been listening in, so appreciate it.
No, we appreciate it, man. And make sure you tune in if you want to watch our Starlight Twitch with Creek and myself. But thanks for joining me on Gibbo Goes 101, driven by MG. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.